I can ask the moderator to start the recording and then we can go.
Okay.
I need to be a co-host or a host back to be able to record. I think the live stream is the host now. Okay, all good now. Recorded as starting.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, dear all, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Those who are already in the evening. Welcome to the second day of the Regional Innovation Forum for Africa. This session will be brought live to you on Swapchat. Use the chat to comment, Q&A box, and connect with each other directly. Use our hashtag Rediscover Innovation to join the conversation. This session has English and French interpretation. If you would like to take advantage, you can click on the link below. Remember that you can only ask questions on Swapchat and in English. Dear Andrew, you have the floor to give your keynotes. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Excellencies, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. It is such a privilege for me to be here today with you on such an important occasion to open this edition of the Regional Innovation Forum for Africa. This theme is more than relevant for our region, building partnerships to mainstream entrepreneurship. We already know our region's potential. We know that our abundance of resources and our great, in both senses, population of young people have untapped capabilities. Yet, despite this potential, people in the region still suffer from underdevelopment, poverty, and lack of access to basic rights like education and sanitation. But this is not the whole story of Africa. The continent is diverse, and so are our experiences and capabilities. Africa has innovators who know what problems need to be solved. Entrepreneurs have the power to turn these problems into opportunities and these opportunities into thriving businesses. There are already digital entrepreneurs working on innovations to solve problems like poverty and lack of access to education. And we are hearing from some of them during this forum. However, entrepreneurs in our countries with limited resources need greater support to be successful in exploring these opportunities. They, the talent, need the infrastructure, the capital, the market, culture, policies, and an overarching national vision and strategy, aligning that can support these entrepreneurs when they embark on their entrepreneurial journey. In line with the mandate developed at the 2017 World Telecommunication Development Conference, ITU works to close the digital innovation divide and transform countries into thriving and competitive digital economies in partnership with member states and other relevant stakeholders. The most recent Regional Development Forum recognized the importance of innovation for the region through the Africa Regional Initiative 1, building digital economies and fostering innovation in Africa. Members are in the process of drafting the regional initiatives for the next cycle, spanning the 2022-2026 period, placing the fostering of digital industries and innovation ecosystems at the forefront of our development agenda. They are not doing this lightly. They are doing this because they know Africa's future lies in being innovative, fostering innovation by saving on our resources and using them more efficiently, using technology to advance like the rest of the world. We can't afford to be always remaining behind. It is very encouraging, and I'm very pleased to recognize the partners of this Regional Innovation Forum. The Africa Telecommunication Union, and I saw my friend John is on the call already. John, I very much appreciate your support and that of the Africa Telecommunication Union. The Association of African Universities, the Coalition on Media and Education for Development Forum, CAFO, Smart Africa, the Regional Consortium of Experts for Development, RCD Africa, UNESCO, Share for Emerging Technologies for Development, and of course, the World Food Programme. Thank you for your support in organizing this important discussion, and more importantly, call to action to help us reach our collective objective of accelerating digital ecosystem transformation and its impact on cross-cutting sectors for an inclusive society. This forum is yours and aims to be the platform for ideas, to discuss ideas from divergent to convergent, to identify the key takeaways of these discussions, and to develop national or regional flagship projects to be started as soon as possible. And why not? The Regional Innovation Forum for Africa started yesterday. We discussed on what we need for the tech entrepreneurship and key sector development in Africa, focusing on the continent's key sectors, including agriculture and health. We were excited to launch ITU's new report, Regional Good Practices, Accelerating Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Digital Transformation in Africa. Good practices can serve as a case study for what the ecosystem needs by identifying what has worked in other ecosystems and adapting them to create our own brilliant ecosystem or vibrant ecosystem. We were excited that discussion included a young founder of one of these good practices. We also had entrepreneurs and ecosystem builders who are finalists in this year's Global South Digital Innovation Challenge. These innovators have come up with ideas to overcome the pandemic that can be shared and scaled up in different countries. And I think that is where the trick lies. All across the continent, we've got young people, young innovators, and we need to give them a platform where they can share their innovations that can be then scaled up in their own other countries. As you already know, ATO and ITU also organized innovation challenges earlier this year. The theme was Best Ecosystem Practices in Africa Enabling Youth ICT Innovation. The winners of this challenge also participated in this panel, showing the diversity in innovation across the continent. Today, several countries in Africa have ministries of digital economy or technology or ICT combined with innovation and youth. This is because for today's development, digital or ICT, innovation, youth and entrepreneurship go hand in hand. So how do you go from this being a compartmentalized approach to an all of government, all of private sector, investor attractive environment, and ultimately an all of Africa single digital market approach? Today, building on insights shared yesterday, our distinguished officials will discuss ways that stakeholders can accelerate the development of a regional innovation ecosystem that supports countries in integrating ICT innovation into national development agendas. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in congratulating the Republic of Niger and the Republic of Mali, who in collaboration with the ecosystems and the support of the ITU, both conducted co-creation exercises to develop their national digital innovation profiles. These digital innovation profiles assess the national ecosystem, enabling agreement towards common goals for the ecosystems and culminating in identification of recommendations and projects to achieve this agreed vision. I recommend that our member states draft their digital innovation profiles with us if they have not already done so, and Niger and Mali co-create and identify at least one national flagship project to accelerate digital transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, the key words so far in this forum are collaboration between stakeholders and the ecosystems, partnerships across and within the public and private sectors, and best practices to close the digital gap and unlock our potential. Let me add my own. Let me add my own to ensure that our ecosystems, our ICT innovation ecosystems are not, that they are gender sensitive. We need to include our young ladies and we need to encourage them. We need to work with them in order for them to bring their part of the game, part into the game. They have a lot to offer. Those who know me will know that I'm passionate about the closing of the digital gender gap, and this not least in innovation. When I started, I said it was a privilege for me to be here with you on such an important occasion. This is not least because I'm in my last 2 days of service to ITU. It is my honor to be retiring from ITU on such a high note. Let me take this opportunity to thank you, the wider public that have supported me and have supported the regional office from Africa that I head, and particularly the strategic partners, Smart Africa, R2, UNESCO, and the many others that we have been working together on many things, including innovation. It is also my privilege to have my successor, the new regional director for Africa of the ITU, present on this call, Ms. Anne Rachel Ine, that most of you would know because of her previous work in this field, in the field of development, in the field of connectivity, in the field of internet governance, her name is not a stranger to many of you. It is my hope that you give her as much support or even more support, that you will collaborate with her and the office, the Regional Office for Africa, so that we are able to continue to serve the member states to make sure that the quality of life in our countries for our people continues to improve with the contribution and acceleration of ICT and digital solutions. And with that, Mr. Moderator, I look forward to continuing our very rewarding collaboration, and I wish you a rich and fruitful training in this digital innovation ecosystem and the rest of the discussions during this forum. I hope that our paths will cross again, or in fact will cross often on this subject of Africa's digital transformation. I thank you.
Merci Andrew. Merci Andrew. Merci pour ce mot très réconfortant. Je pense qu'il n'y a pas de voix plus autorisée pour donner la parole à votre remplaçante, Madame Anne-Rachel Iné, qui va modérer la session ministérielle, comme on le dit, pour le forum qui suit. Merci. Anne-Rachel, vous avez la parole. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Serge. Bonjour à tous. Et je voudrais déjà, pour commencer, avant d'introduire nos panélistes, dire bonjour à tout le monde et merci infiniment à Andrew pour ces super, pour des mots très gentils et pour tout ce qu'il a fait pour l'IUT, pour le bureau régional et pour la région surtout, dans la région Afrique. Merci infiniment, Andrew. Je sais que nous n'avons pas fini de nous voir, et je sais que je marche, comme on dit, dans tes pas, et donc je ferai de mon possible, de mon mieux, pour assurer et continuer non seulement ce que tu as fait, mais aussi voilà, ce que nous devons tous continuer à faire pour que notre continent voit véritablement ce qu'est la transformation digitale. So thank you so much, Andrew. And, you know, you'll be around. We'll see you. Alors, donc, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, distinguished guests, I would like to welcome everybody to this panel. And I'm going to start by introducing our panelists. We have John Omo, Mr. John Omo, who is the Secretary General of the African Telecommunications Union. John, if you can put your camera, great, good to see you. We have also Mr. Didier Nkuyuki-Mfura, Director of Technology at Smart Africa Secretariat. Didier. Ravi de vous voir. Ensuite, nous avons Madame Mariko Assassambara, Secrétaire générale du ministère de la Communication, de l'Économie numérique et de la modernisation de l'administration de la République du Mali. Madame Mariko, ravie de vous revoir. Ça fait très longtemps.
Et nous avons aussi... bonjour, Madame. Madame Mariko a un empêchement de dernière minute. Je la remplace en tant que conseillère technique.
Très bien, ravie de vous rencontrer aussi, alors, et de vous avoir. Et donc, votre nom, s'il vous plaît? Pour pas que je continue à vous appeler
Madame
Madame
Koulibaly.
Koulibaly, très bien.
C'est Madame Koulibaly, Madame Koulibaly Aminata Sougouba.
Super, merci beaucoup, Madame Koulibaly.
Merci.
Et donc, notre panéliste, le dernier, et pas des moindres, est M. Hassan Barazé Moussa, ministre de la Poste et des Nouvelles Technologies de l'Information de la République du Niger. Est-ce qu'il est là? Non, peut-être pas. Serge?
Oui, il est connecté. Je pense qu'il est muted.
OK. Merci alors de le pinguer de notre côté pour savoir s'il arrive. Donc, so I'm going to continue in English. John, since, okay, I think Mr. Baraze is connecting. Wonderful.
Bonjour Anne. Non, c'est pas lui, c'est son secrétaire général. C'est pas lui, mais lui, il est au téléphone là, il revient tout de suite.
Très bien, donc il sera avec nous quand même?
Il est là, en fait, je suis en face de lui, il m'a dit, il a eu un appel, il a tout à l'heure.
Très bien.
C'est pas lui, il
Merci,
ne faut pas retenir son visage. Hein. Il n'a pas de turban.
Très bien. Merci infiniment de nous prévenir. All right, so we're going to launch into the panel, and I'm going to start with John. Mr. Olmo, Africa Telecommunications Union has an incentive program in innovation. Something crucial that we've been working with you, as Andrew reminded everybody. So through your work at ATU, what are some key challenges and opportunities in the digital ecosystem to achieve, sustainable development goals in the region? The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much indeed, Anne Rachel, and good to see you. Welcome to Africa. Thank you very much, Andrew, for the kind words, and I want to thank each of my colleague panelists for being here. Now, direct to your question, I want to say that innovation is something that is quite dear to this union, and I take pride in participating in this forum with the IT, where we're looking at sustainable innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystems. The theme really for Africa as a continent is important because most of our countries.
John, interpretation is saying that the sound is too poor. Can you maybe push up your mic so we can hear you better?
Okay, let me just do that.
Thank you.
Hello, is it better now? Is it better?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm sorry indeed for that. I was just saying that the theme of this meeting, which is sustainable innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystems, is one that is very dear to us as Africa, because we are just heralding an era where digital transformation journey is one that all our countries are engaged in across the continent, following up on the AU digital transformation strategy. And so the need for Africa to leapfrog and jump quickly into the bandwagon in order to ensure that technology in terms of systems and services work towards the development of Africa is one that cannot be gainsaid. Now, in terms of opportunities and some of the challenges, I want to just talk of two main opportunities that I see, one of which I've mentioned briefly, and that is the untapped potential of this continent in terms of incorporating ICT into our facets of life, be it political, be it economic, be it health, be it educational, agriculture, and all that. The potential is huge and it's still quite untapped. And that for me is a monstrous opportunity that any technology company that is willing or looking forward to, innovating ideas for products that are in health, that are in agriculture, that are in politics, would certainly want to look at this continent as one where one can easily innovate and make money. And so there exists a great demand as opposed to other regions for, customized ICT services and solutions. The second one that I would think about at the top of my head is the the large pool of the youth in this continent, and very agile people, very tenacious people. A good number of them are deeply interested in technology. And with the untapped potential that I talked about, there exists, you know, quite in many of our countries now, a growing number of young people that are curious, that are interested, that are looking forward to opportunities and generating ideas on how we can, you know, develop African solutions to African problems. And so those are the two key opportunities that I see. Of course, we have a couple of challenges, as I've alluded to. You know, we have a large number of the population that are still living below the poverty level, and so may not be able to afford, you know, certain systems and services that are related to technology. For example, smartphones or internet connectivity. They'd rather, you know, take the little income that they have to meet their more basic needs, such as food, shelter, and clothing. And so that is one area that we need to look at. The lack of coordination amongst various organizations that are playing in this space is something that I've talked about previously and continues to concern me. I think we are still, you know, in our little fiefdoms as institutions, as organizations. Each and every organization is doing this or that. And I look forward to a day when we can, you know, harmonize all these policies under one umbrella for purposes of a big impact. And so that is another challenge that I see. There's still not enough, in my view, coordination of the various innovative activities that are happening in the continent or even between countries. And that is one challenge that I think we need to look forward to solving as a continent. Of course, limited capacity building opportunities, especially for the youth that I've talked about, and also mentoring of innovators and digital entrepreneurs. ITU, in conjunction with us, is doing something that I really want to applaud in terms of mentoring and of innovators. But there's still a huge potential in that area for organizations to come together and marshal, you know, mentoring and capacity building opportunities in this area. There is also quite a bit of a lack of resources and enabling policies and in terms of facilitating innovation. And so we need to work a lot more with our governments to ensure that the policies that are in place for facilitating innovation and the development of innovative ideas are encouraged, are made made by our governments, by our companies, by our institutions, so that we have an ecosystem that is friendly, that is conducive to innovation. Of course, lack of capital is a great challenge. We have young people, many of them, that have fantastic ideas, but still lack the opportunity to access a capital to assist them in developing their innovative ideas. So those are some of the challenges that I see around, and I would wish that we focus on. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you very much, John. I think among some of the things that you referred to, I really would love to, pinpoint at, yes, the challenges faced by youth in a continent that is mostly in a majority, made up of those people. So we need to cater to them. And the other challenge, of course, is, yes, lack of institutional coordination from governments to, all of the partners who are supposed to actually, be building, help build this ecosystem, work together. So thanks for pointing that out. And, at ITU, we've been working with you and we've been working with other partners, and we're really hoping that as we go, this gelling of efforts will materialize so that our region gets to really do the leapfrogging that we've been talking about for years. So thank you, Andrew. I would like to now turn to John, excuse me. See, Andrew is around, so thank you, John.
That's my other name. That's my other name.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. All right. I'm going to turn now to Didier, Mr. Nkuyikimfura. Smart Africa has been playing a key role in the continent towards, connect, to innovate and transform. What are some of the key challenges and opportunities in the digital ecosystem that you are seeing in achieving sustainable development goals in the region? Thank you. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Anna Rachel. Good to see you again after a long time. I'm very honored to be here with Excellency Minister, with John Omo and distinguished panelists to share a little bit as you the perspective of Smart Africa in the digital transformation of the continent. For those one who know Smart Africa, or for those one who don't know Smart Africa, it's a Pan-African organization that has been mandated by head of state from African countries to support the digital transformation. And among the principles that were at the core of the vision of Smart Africa was to accelerate the digital transformation, to support socioeconomic transformation in countries, but also to federate the capabilities of the continent. Here we talk about a continent of 1.2 billion, but then you realize that most of the countries over the last 20 years have been having really a domestic focus, a national focus. So Smart Africa offered the opportunity for countries to actually work together. So that's just in brief what Smart Africa is, and vision of Smart Africa is to create a single digital market by 2030. Not very far. 9 years seems to be far, but it's not really far. And the proof is, if you want to recall what happened in 2012, you might have some ideas, and it's like 9 years behind us. So it's become a bit, it's not that far, and we believe that because of the political will which is there, this vision will become a reality. But let me talk about the opportunities. We all know, I think, and that's as John mentioned earlier, digital economy, digital transformation in the global economy. It's obvious today that a country cannot really talk about economic transformation without talking about technology, and so it's no longer an optional direction to take. It's really a must for economies to embrace digital economy, digital transformation to become relevant for the future. So the importance of digital technology in the global economy makes it a strategic sector, both economically but also politically. And for developing countries, digital economy is a strong lever of economic and social development. And digital tools also offer new opportunities for action to African states, given that giving them the ability to monitor the territory, population, economy, but also offering considerable perspective for improving public services and strengthening the productivity of the administration. I'm really bringing this other aspect to complement what my brother John mentioned about the private sector and the opportunity for the private sector. I think there is also a great opportunity for the public services and also improving the productivity on the administration. And it's really offering new opportunity to boost economic growth. And this is really, really important, especially after the pandemic that we've gone through, where economies are trying to really rebuild and go back to their feet. So economic growth, job creation, digital economy really offer an opportunity to support the economic goals of a country, but also it's a source of productivity, productivity gains for other economic sectors, be it health, education, governance, and so on. That's, I'll say, in terms of opportunity. In terms of challenges, we cannot emphasize more that for digital economy and digital transformation to happen, political leadership is very key. It needs to be on the top of the agenda. It needs to be a top priority. And African governments who are working with Smart Africa by joining Smart Africa, it's a sign of commitment that they are going to prioritize technology and to invest more in digital transformation, not working alone, working also with the private sector, and in order to mobilize all the resources and work together to achieve this vision, their vision, the national vision. Connectivity, we can't really, I think you mentioned it in your question, and we talk about connect, innovate, and transform. Connectivity is still a major element that need to be taken into account, because we still have, over 60% of Africans who don't have internet or a reliable connectivity, even if we've been witnessing a mobile revolution, which has happened and swept across the continent. But it's only 26% of people in Africa currently who are using mobile internet versus 49% globally. So that's why it's need, and why it's not being adopted. Of course, coverage is an issue. There are some places, especially the rural areas, which are not properly adequately covered. So there are connectivity gap. There's also usage gap because people don't have the right tools, the right devices. And we can't really talk about innovation, digital innovation, if people are not able to interact with the digital economy. So connectivity is important. Digital, the devices are important, but affordability and digital skills are also important. I'd like just to touch briefly in two last points. The first one is that we need to attract more funding. We can't, all these plans we're talking about can only happen if we have adequate funding. It starts by government, of course, by prioritizing and allocating resources, but also we talk also about investment coming from partners, development partners, private sectors in different digital programs. So we still have some financing and funding gaps. And lastly, policies. Without the right policies in place, without the right regulation and legal environment, we can't really talk about digital innovation. And if we really want to get to the maximum of digital transformation, we need to have the right policies, and even better, we need to harmonize our policy at the continent, because we're not talking about just a national market. We're talking about an African market that has over 1 billion people. So those are the few points I wanted to add on top of what John just mentioned.
Thank you very much, Didier. And you touched on, actually added on points that John made, but some of them that you talked about are leadership. It is very important, for the leadership to be involved, so that all of the, we were talking about the African continental free trade area. How is that going to boost, for example, technology adoption, technology production on our continent, and how are we going to harmonize our rules? When we look, for example, internationally, what is happening in terms of taxation today, it's a big issue. Are we going to fight for the next 9 years before we start looking into, for example, how to harmonize the trade of goods and technology included in our continent and things like that. So thank you very much. You really came forward with things that we need to keep in mind. So thanks again. Madame Koulibaly, maintenant je vais aller à vous. Et donc le Mali vient de finaliser son profil numérique. Et nous avons vu donc à l'intérieur de ce rapport que l'écosystème national définit une nouvelle vision. Donc un Mali qui prospère dans un avenir numérique, fier de son passé, offrant de l'emploi à forte croissance pour tous et porteur d'industries compétitives au niveau mondial avec les TIC comme moteur de productivité. Alors, quels sont les principaux défis et opportunités de l'écosystème numérique pour atteindre ces objectifs au Mali? Merci, à vous.
Merci bien, Madame Anne. C'est un plaisir pour moi d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui. Monsieur le ministre aurait voulu être là aujourd'hui, mais son agenda de dernière minute ne lui a pas permis. Donc, il m'a chargé de vous transmettre ses salutations sincères. Mesdames et messieurs, il me plaît aujourd'hui de prendre la parole pour réaffirmer l'adhésion indéfectible de mon pays, le Mali, à l'objectif de ce forum, qui est de construire des partenariats pour intégrer l'entrepreneuriat et l'innovation. Nous sommes partie prenante et nous souscrivons sans réserve aucune à la création d'un écosystème numérique favorable à la compétitivité. Qu'il me soit permis d'exprimer ma gratitude au Bureau de développement de l'UIT pour leur accompagnement à un moment où le Mali est dans le processus de redynamiser son écosystème du numérique. Le profil de l'innovation numérique pour le Mali a été repensé avec la contribution des parties prenantes de l'écosystème, notamment les entrepreneurs, les universitaires, le secteur public, le privé, les financiers, les organisations de soutien à l'entrepreneuriat et la société civile. La vision du Mali, qui est arrivée à son terme, a pour ambition de faire du numérique pour le Mali un vecteur de développement humain durable, une source de productivité et de valeur ajoutée pour les autres secteurs économiques pour l'administration publique, un levier important de l'économie nationale. Certaines activités ont été réalisées pendant que bon nombre de points restent encore à réaliser. C'est dans ce contexte que le gouvernement a demandé à l'UIT une assistance technique pour l'élaboration de nouveaux plans visant à accélérer la transformation digitale. Donc, notre ambition pendant cette courte transition est de jeter les bases d'un changement de culture, de méthodes et de stratégies. L'existence dans l'attelage gouvernemental de transition d'un département dédié à l'économie numérique participe à cette ambition. Notre ambition est que le Mali dispose aussi d'une jeunesse compétitive à l'échelle sous-régionale et régionale dans le domaine du numérique. C'est pour cela que nous travaillons à faire le TIC non seulement un outil de développement des acteurs de l'économie du Mali, mais un secteur, une agence pourvoyeuse d'emploi. C'est ainsi que nous travaillons à augmenter la couverture nationale pour les réseaux téléphoniques, à augmenter les services pour l'administration, pour les consommateurs, à réduire les tarifs d'accès Internet, à augmenter la qualité du service, à faciliter la création d'entreprises et d'emplois, à augmenter les revenus de l'État à travers une réglementation plus saine et équilibrée. Le Mali dispose d'ores et déjà d'un cadre réglementaire et législatif propice à l'instauration d'un marché des TIC fort, transparent et favorable à la concurrence, avec des textes sur la société de l'information, la protection des données à caractère personnel, la cryptologie, la transaction et échange électronique, la cybercriminalité et la cybersécurité en cours d'élaboration. Comme vous l'avez dit tantôt, les défis sont nombreux et les chantiers de création des écosystèmes d'innovation durable sont énormes, mais ils ne sont pas point insurmontables. Nous y parviendrons à force d'audace, d'imagination, de créativité, le tout soutenu par une ferme volonté politique de construire une économie numérique durable, solide et inclusive. Pour ce faire, il nous faut nous doter d'une masse critique de compétences dans l'industrie numérique. Les efforts en cours méritent d'être soutenus et accompagnés aussi bien par le secteur privé que par le secteur public. Il s'agira de travailler ensemble à l'amélioration des compétences à travers le soutien aux startups, aux universités et à la formation professionnelle, afin que les citoyens puissent profiter pleinement des opportunités qu'offre le numérique. Nous travaillons aussi avec les acteurs et artisans de notre dessin numérique. Nous travaillons, je vais dire, à être des artisans de notre dessin numérique. Et je le rappelle, en évitant d'être observateurs et consommateurs sans capacité de création et d'emploi ou de plus-value. Il s'agit de vouloir un Mali prospère, un Mali riche de ses ressources naturelles, mais surtout un Mali riche de ses ressources numériques et intellectuelles. Ayant foi à notre capacité et jetons les bases d'une économie digitale dynamique, gage d'un certain développement durable et soutenu. Nous faisons confiance à notre jeunesse et nous tenons à utiliser à bon escient les recommandations issues du rapport que l'UIT a produit en collaboration avec les parties prenantes de l'écosystème du numérique. Je vous remercie, Madame. Merci.
Merci infiniment, Madame Coulibaly. Et il est très louable de voir le Mali en arriver là. Et je suis absolument heureuse de voir que d'abord toutes les parties prenantes ont été intégrées quant à la finition de ce rapport. Et donc, en plus de prendre en compte, bien sûr, toutes leurs préoccupations et que le Mali vise à véritablement mettre un environnement proactif et qui va servir de levier pour faire donc de ce pays une des composantes, sinon l'une des principales composantes donc des acteurs du numérique africain. Merci encore, Madame Coulibaly. Je vais maintenant me tourner vers Monsieur Barazé. J'espère qu'il est en ligne avec nous. Alors, Monsieur Barazé, si vous pouvez nous donner en 3 minutes ce que le Niger fait en termes d'opportunités pour être donc, pour ce qui est des meilleures pratiques qui alimentent l'innovation numérique dans le pays et en Afrique en général, nous vous seriez reconnaissant. La parole est à vous, Monsieur. Excellence.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Anne. Je voudrais profiter pour vous féliciter pour votre élection à ce poste. C'est vrai qu'il y a eu une étude, c'est une très bonne initiative de faire cette réunion sur l'innovation numérique, parce que de toutes les façons, l'innovation numérique et le numérique sont devenus vraiment une obligation très ardente pour nous, pour que nos entrepreneurs, nos entreprises et le secteur privé soient compétitifs. Alors, nous avons engagé une étude, l'État a engagé une étude qui a été menée par la société, l'Agence pour la société de l'information, l'ANSI, qui a été menée avec l'UIT. Le rapport nous a été pratiquement remis il y a 2 semaines. Nous n'avons pas eu le temps d'exploiter très bien ce rapport. Je pense que Serge est d'accord avec nous que ça a été fait il y a 2 semaines seulement que nous avons eu le rapport. Nous ne l'avons pas beaucoup exploité pour voir mettre en harmonie. On l'a parcouru. Moi, je l'ai parcouru seulement, je l'ai eu seulement il y a 3 ou 4 jours. Je l'ai parcouru, j'ai vu que le rapport a soulevé beaucoup d'incohérences dans nos politiques, dans nos manières de faire ici au Niger, a fait beaucoup de recommandations. J'aimerais bien qu'on nous laisse le temps de voir, de parcourir ce rapport qui est très important, qui est très intéressant. Je l'ai parcouru de façon sommaire pour que vraiment qu'on puisse donner à cette institution, pour qu'on puisse vous donner vraiment nos impressions et voir ce que nous sommes en train de faire. Nous avons un chantier pour faciliter les choses, la refonte de tout ce que nous avons comme dispositif institutionnel, juridique, législatif, parce qu'effectivement, comme vous voyez dans le rapport, je pense qu'ils l'ont vu, il y a tellement de pôles de décision dans le secteur, il y a tellement de choses qui sont faites entre les ministères, dans l'administration, mais il n'y a pas de coordination, il y a un manque de coordination. Et c'est pour cela que nous sommes en train de refondre tout l'arsenal, tous les dispositifs pour vraiment faire en sorte que le numérique puisse constituer ces leviers, l'innovation puisse constituer ces leviers de développement économique de notre pays. Voilà, à ce niveau, ce que je peux dire sur ce rapport, sur ce qui a été fait sur cette situation. Et là, je vais laisser est-ce que je continue peut-être la discussion avec vous? Moi, j'ai une réunion tout de suite à la primature, je dois aller rencontrer. J'étais au téléphone avec lui la première fois que vous avez appelé, donc je vais aller le voir. Et merci beaucoup pour cette invitation et bonne journée. Merci.
Et merci à vous, Excellence, d'avoir quand même été avec nous et nous tenons à votre disposition. Comme vous dites, ce rapport a été fait avec l'UIT. Nous serons à vos côtés pour faire en sorte que ce qui est dans notre mandat, sur lequel nous pouvons aider, nous soyons avec vous. Donc, merci infiniment encore d'avoir été avec nous et nous accueillons avec plaisir le secrétaire général. Merci.
Voilà, c'est l'homme en turbané. Merci beaucoup.
Très bien.
Merci.
Je continue sur sa session ou sur ma session? Moi, j'ai ma session.
Si vous voulez bien le faire, ce sera avec plaisir.
Bon, j'ai ma session, je coupe sa session, je n'ai pas besoin je pense que c'est bon. Vous me voyez sur les deux écrans dans tous les cas.
Je ne suis pas sûre. Moi, j'ai celui-là. Donc, mais si vous voulez bien rester, des fois que je revienne à vous tout à l'heure, peut-être encore autre chose, monsieur.
D'accord, je suis là.
Merci encore.
Je suis sur son fauteuil, je vais rester. Hein.
Très bien, merci encore. Alors, je vais donc repartir à Madame Koulibaly. Madame Koulibaly, si vous êtes encore avec nous, je voudrais vous poser une question qui a trait à la transformation numérique donc, de la région. Nous faisons partie, le Mali, avec beaucoup de nos pays de la sous-région et même donc de toute la région Afrique. Nous essayons d'aller vers cette transformation numérique. Donc, en plus de ce que vous avez dit, quels sont, par exemple, les mécanismes de coopération que vous avez pour que le Mali s'intègre aussi au niveau de la région sur tout ce qui se passe dans la transformation numérique? Si vous avez, si vous pouvez nous en parler un peu plus, ce serait avec plaisir. Merci.
Ok, merci bien, Madame la modératrice. Les mécanismes d'intégration au Mali, nous sommes dans une zone espace UOMA, ouest africaine. Donc, il y a l'UOMA, on travaille avec l'UOMA sur les principes pour aller à cette transformation numérique. Nous avons l'appui de la Banque mondiale aussi, un projet qui appuie le Mali par rapport à la transformation digitale. À travers ces projets, nous avons même défini des priorités pour aller à cette transformation digitale. La première des priorités, c'est la révision de nos textes. Les textes et règlements pour que ça soit conforme à l'évolution actuelle du numérique. La seconde priorité, ça, c'est les infrastructures. Les autres intervenants passés ont eu à le dire. Dans nos pays, nous sommes vraiment confrontés aux problèmes d'infrastructure. Donc, on a 70% de la population qui vit en milieu rural, arrive à accéder à ces infrastructures comme le numérique. Donc, notre seconde priorité, c'est aller vers, c'est-à-dire mettre les infrastructures à la disposition de toute la population. Et la troisième priorité, ça, c'est les services vis-à-vis de la population. Les populations ont de la peine à accéder à ces services qui demandent le minimum des choses. Donc, avec la digitalisation de ces services, les populations seront vraiment soulagées. Donc, ça, c'est le troisième priorité parmi tant d'autres. Nous avons l'espace CEDEAO aussi. À travers la CEDEAO, nous appuie dans notre processus de transformation de digitalisation. Donc, voilà ce que je peux vous dire par rapport au cadre de coopération qui existe en plus de l'UIT, bien sûr. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Koulibaly. Et il est important je pense, de rappeler, comme vient de dire le ministre Embarazé, que la refonte des textes est véritablement, et la coordination de tout cela est effectivement un des moyens d'arriver au service aux citoyens. Donc, je vais passer à Monsieur le secrétaire général donc, du ministère de la Poste et des Nouvelles Technologies. Je voudrais vous demander, secrétaire général, comment est-ce que le ministère compte-t-il accélérer la transformation numérique? La Poste, sachant que la Poste a toujours été traditionnellement dans beaucoup de nos pays un des points focaux de justement, par exemple, la banque, les services aux citoyens, les bureaux postaux ont traditionnellement, par exemple, été véritablement des dépôts de last, comme on dit, de derniers kilomètres dans les endroits les plus reculés dans nos pays. Donc, qu'est-ce que vous faites dans ce sens au Niger? Merci, à vous.
Merci Anne pour votre question. Je pense, comme le ministre l'a dit, nous sommes les deux nouveaux à la tête de ce ministère. Nous avons un projet, le président de la République nous a confié l'harmonisation des attributions de tous les acteurs, comme il a parlé de ça tout à l'heure. Nous sommes en train de réfléchir et de travailler sur l'harmonisation des attributions de tous les acteurs pour décroiser les missions de certains agents, de certaines structures qui nous empêchent de coordonner bien le secteur. Ça, c'est le premier travail, nous sommes là-dessus. Moi, je suis arrivé à 2 mois, lui, il a 5 mois. Mais la volonté politique est formelle, il faut harmoniser les attributions, il faut décroiser les missions pour permettre au secteur d'avancer rapidement. Pour revenir à votre question, le secteur postal, j'avoue que vous avez posé une très belle question parce que la Poste est en train de se développer de façon toujours désorganisée parce que nous avons une dizaine, sinon plus d'acteurs qui sont présents partout, mais qui ne sont pas en règle. Qu'est-ce que j'appelle qui ne sont pas en règle? Parce qu'il faut, dans notre législation ou de réglementation, chaque opérateur doit avoir une licence. Et dans les décrets organisant le ministère, il nous est clairement demandé d'organiser ce secteur pour le mettre en règle. Sinon, le secteur est avancé. Nous avons une dizaine partout au Niger, vous pouvez envoyer votre argent, vous pouvez envoyer des colis, ça marche très bien, mais on n'a aucune visibilité du fait que ce secteur n'est pas organisé également en termes de réglementation. Nous avons Niger Post et Niger Post et DHL et SDV seulement qui ont des licences. Tous les autres que peut-être que vous connaissez, qui sont une dizaine, ne sont pas en règle. Donc, nous sommes en train de réfléchir comment les amener à prendre des licences, à nous transférer, nous envoyer des données claires, des données justes, et à travers dans de bonnes conditions réglementaires. Donc, sinon, le secteur est en train d'avancer très bien, sauf la partie réglementation. Je ne sais pas si j'ai répondu à votre question, mais c'est ce que je peux dire pour le moment. C'est une question qui nous préoccupe beaucoup, on est là-dessus. Merci.
Merci infiniment à vous et c'est louable de voir encore une fois donc les pays s'attaquer effectivement au volet institutionnel, ce qui est très important parce que le reste ne peut pas venir tant que cela n'est pas effectivement mis à jour. Merci infiniment à vous d'être avec nous et donc je vais passer maintenant à Monsieur John Omo de ATU. John, thank you for staying with us first of all, and I would like to ask you, how can ATU accelerate the development of competitive regional and national digital innovation ecosystems? Having heard some of your members talk about some of the issues that they're having in harmonization, in making sure that citizen services are really going to citizens and all of that. I mean, how are you seeing that? What are your members as a whole saying, and you as Secretary General? So thanks for enlightening us, John.
Sorry, Anne-Rachel, there was a bit of an echo. Could you kindly repeat the question? Sorry about that.
It's all right, John. So I was asking, how can ATU accelerate the development of competitive regional and national digital innovation ecosystems, having heard from your constituents?
Thank you very much for the question, and I want to thank the previous speakers for the comments that have been made. There are indeed a couple of opportunities that exist, and some of which we have seized in collaboration with other organizations, some of others, at the individual level. The single biggest opportunity that we see here, and this has been happening in the last 20 or so years when we opened up the market to competition. And then, 4 or so years ago, following the AU digital transformation strategy for Africa, all our governments have opened up their countries to opportunities that are brought by digital systems and services. And so the key area that we have worked on with the membership is on e-skills framework. And this is one of the points that I had alluded to earlier. There's quite a disjointed nature in terms of either at the continental level or even at the individual government level in terms of how e-skilling is undertaken. We've undertaken a survey in this regard and developed a strategy. And the key point that has come forth is that the ministries, or there's not enough coordination, even on the e-skilling at our national level. Surprising thing in this day and age. And so the need to ensure that there's a common approach towards the e-skilling, it's still a Ministry of Education issue, which justifiably is the case, or should be the case. But you find ideally that there should be other players playing in that space in the development of our e-skills curriculum, the ministries of ICT, the operators themselves, the hubs that we have in the continent. And so that is one gap that we have seen in that space. We've worked with the membership to develop a strategy in this regard. And we do hope that, we can use that as a model. We're working with the membership, use that as a model to develop an e-skilling framework within our national governments and authorities, so that there's a coordinated approach towards e-skilling. Indeed, if we don't e-skill with reference to the fourth industrial revolution with new technologies coming up, we just also a year ago issued out a strategy for Africa, following up on the AU's African Union's digital transformation strategy, a 4IR strategy on how Africa can be mainstreamed into the new technologies. And we do hope that working with governments, we can implement that. We have, as was mentioned by Andrew earlier, in the second phase of the second year of our innovation challenge, very interesting ideas from our youth. And this is something that is very dear to my heart. I think we need to upscale it and see that, the players in this industry get into it, so that the impact is bigger and larger. We are working now towards the creation of a portal, probably where each country will have their space, so that we can highlight the sort of innovative ideas that are being generated mostly by our youth in each of the portal for each and every country. We have worked with the membership in the area of Spectrum as a key enabler in the digital innovation space with our governments to ensure that Spectrum is readily made available for networks so that they can be encouraged to innovate. Something that I'm sure is very dear to your heart, the migration from IPv4 to 6. We are working with AfriConnect now, albeit with the challenges that we have seen of late, but we do hope that especially at the political level, there's still quite dearth of information by our policymakers in terms of what needs to be done. Yet AfriConnect and indeed players in this space have all that information resident with them. And so what we need is to unlock the political goodwill that is necessary for the movement to IPv6. Lastly, cybersecurity and confidence building. Again, it's something that we are working on with the African Union. We just had a meeting about this 2 days ago in terms of developing a strategy for data management in Africa. The opportunities are many. If you want to know the resilience of an African, go to any African market in whether Mali or Kigali or Niger or wherever, and see what the capacity of an African woman, what they can carry to a market, the load that they can carry to a market, and you'll see the resilience in our people. And so the ability to tell this lady that yes, the market in the outskirts of Niger is offering you a better opportunity than the main market in the city center. The ability for her to access that information is what is the opportunity we must give that lady, so that she markets her product to where she can get the best returns for those products. I hope I've dealt with your question, albeit in view of the limited time that we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. This is really great. I think it's a great way to finish. Unfortunately, I think we're running out of time, and I don't even think that I'm going to be able to ask another question to Didier. Didier, John, Madame Koulibaly, thank you all for being with us today. And I think building partnership is what we've been doing this morning, and listening to each other, but also, knowing what each other are doing. You all said it. We need those partnerships. We need the mainstreaming of entrepreneurship. We need the institutional part to function. We need the affordability. We need our youth to be involved, and we need the leadership that comes from, our leaders to be involved in this and make sure that we're progressing it. And of course, we cannot leave half of our continent, on the side. And that is women, and that is young ladies. And John, I am happy to tell you that this is one of the continents where we have the most young ladies involved in IPv6, so we can make it happen, So thank you all really for being here with us this morning. ITU is here for you. The regional office is here to help you go forward. And we're counting on you and on your partnership to make digital transformation in Africa a reality. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Monsieur le SG, merci.
Thank you, Didier. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. Bye-bye.
Thank you, John. Thank you for your contribution.
My pleasure.
Merci
My
et
pleasure.
courage. Hein.
Thank you, Hassan. Thank you, Hassan.
Thank you.
Bonne chance, Anne.
Merci, merci.
Merci bien. Didier. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yes, yes, yes.
Amakuru.
Nimeza.
Mm.
Mm.
How's
Oh,
Kigali?
Kigali is well. Kigali is doing well. Yeah.
I'm on the way.
Oh, okay. In 2 days?
Not exactly in 2 days, but but I will be coming.
Oh, okay, okay. No, welcome Noza to Savugan.
Kabisa.
Mm.
All right, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, Louisa. Can we have music inside while we look for our moderator?
You have, Louisa, you have the slide for session 2, which I sent you, I think, yesterday. Yeah.
All right. Yes, I will do it.
Yeah, I emailed him, but
Okay. And the other panelists are here?
some of them are not listening to me. I told them to connect.
Hi, Doreen.
Hi, Moende.
Hi. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just looking for everybody. I'm promoting Devin because he's in the room. Celia,
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hi,
Hey,
Devin.
Digara, how are you? Doreen, morning.
Morning.
Good afternoon, rather.
Yeah, for me.
Join you in this part of the day. How's everyone keeping today?
Okay.
Good, thank you so much. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you.
Is everyone here
Hey.
except for Calvin?
Testing.
Melanie's here, Violet's here, Dogara. Alex, is Alex making Alex is here?
Yeah, I'm here, thank you.
Can you all please turn on your cameras?
But there's a screen, somebody's sharing a screen.
Is that Louisa?
Yeah,
Louisa, this is not the slide to share. This is the slide with all the panelists on it.
Okay. Right, that's it. Yeah, this is a red slide. This is red screen. Okay, we are on there.
We're only looking for the moderator. Louisa, could you please resend Calvin's link? I've asked Stefan for it as well.
Yes, Doreen, the email from Kevin, that's what you said?
Calvin Nang.
Okay, I'm going to look for it now and resend the invitation.
Thank you.
So the PowerPoint you sent me is not the right one, right?
No, I sent you that PowerPoint yesterday.
Okay.
This PowerPoint that you were sharing is going to be shown between, is going to be shown at the end of the session by Mo and Day.
Right, okay.
Can somebody mute me from that end? I don't know why I can't mute myself.
But we can hear you. Dr. Makuku, Violet, we can hear you.
You want to be muted?
Yeah, I can't. I think my phone is frozen or something. I can't mute. I want to join with a computer, but in the meantime, because
okay, I'll mute you, and then when you rejoin, we'll see.
Okay.
Just a quick question. Will we have access to the questions on swap card ourselves, or can we log in dual?
So what we do is we're having Ida send the questions to Calvin via WhatsApp. Okay. You can also have swap card open on your own if you would like to, but Calvin will read them to you.
Perfect, 100%. I think I'll just open it up on a secondary device.
Okay.
Are you well today, Dr. Cole?
But people are finding it.
Miss Violet, there's echo.
Yeah, I need to disconnect.
All right, let me mute you. Would you like me to mute you? Or
Africa session 2. Louisa, Violet is connected from 2 devices, so we need to delete the phone, but I don't know which is the phone and which is her computer.
I'm okay. I've removed the phone.
Okay.
And
great.
I pray that my connection will remain stable on the laptop. Doreen, you are muted. We can't hear you. Oh.
Apologies, panelists. I think Calvin is on his way. Calvin, are you here? Calvin? Okay, I'm renaming you. Okay, Calvin, please turn on your mic. Everyone's muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, Louisa, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, everybody's here. Are we ready to go live? Louisa?
Yes, from my side.
Okay.
All good.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you
Can you start?
All right. Calvin, please begin.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, wherever you may be. I'm welcome. Just give me one moment to synchronize my microphone and my audio. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can all hear you.
We can hear you, but your sound is not very good. Huh? You're not coming very well, sound-wise. I don't know what you can do. Can you do some adjustments?
Is the sound better now?
Yeah, slightly better. Okay.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Calvin.
Thank you so much. So welcome to the mainstream innovation and entrepreneurship capacity in Africa. So my name is Calvin Lang. I'm the project manager for capacity building and skills development at Smart Africa. So I joined Smart Africa with the ambitious program titled the Smart Africa Digital Academy, which is an initiative that aims at federating the different capacity building and skills development initiative across the continent into a single platform. So I'll be here today as a moderator for this panel session. It is my pleasure to introduce to all the panelists around here, and I'll start with Dr. Violet Makulu, which is the QA specialist, workshop coordinator and harmonization of Africa Higher Education as the AAU. Dr. Violet, if you can hear me, please, the floor is yours for 1 minute presentation.
Yes, so what I want to really share is with regards mostly to curricula, because when I look at it in terms of innovation, if we do not look into the curricula, then we are going to have problems. And I want to believe that with this event or activity, we are also covering higher and tertiary education, although maybe it could be really open and broad. But when I have just a focus on, for example, higher and tertiary education, I'm looking at the kind of questions which could be asked today, which people may be asking today. Do we need an overhaul of the current education system? If yes, why? What needs to be changed? A needs analysis needs to be done. Who should be involved in the change process? And what will be the roles of those involved? Which skill sets should those to be involved have? What kind of skills are needed by the 21st century graduates and workforce? How can effective changes be done? So when you look at all these questions, I know maybe I'm going to be given more time to elaborate, maybe with some of the questions that will come in. So this requires us definitely to make sure that everything seems to be ICT and Internet of Things. Everything is ICT driven. So all our programs and what we are doing right now, we need to now make sure there is an appendage of an ICT aspect.
Okay.
Although you know it's broader than that. Thank you.
Doctor. Thank you so much, Dr. Violet. I appreciate that. We also wanted you to have a maybe 1 minute presentation of yourself and what you do, and so that we know your background. And while you're doing that, I'll invite the technical session to review the translation, because it's like we lost the translation. Dr. Violet, maybe just in 30 seconds, who are you? Can the panelists know who you are? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So my name is Dr. Violet Makuku. I'm with the Association of African Universities, where I'm a quality assurance specialist. I've got a strong background in curricular issues. And so the most important thing I do is institutional evaluations. Institutional evaluations, we look at everything: the teaching and learning, the research, community engagement, curricular design, curricular review. And so I'm really passionate about looking at the contemporary issues and how universities can remain relevant. And one of those things is to check on the trends and current issues. And we know with the fourth industrial revolution, the coming of the COVID-19 pandemic, the push is on incorporation of Internet of Things and ICT-driven workspaces and everything. I also do a lot of capacity building workshops in quality assurance to make sure that we improve the quality of higher education, research workshops, innovation, university industry linkages, industrialization and intellectual property workshops, and research chain, the whole research chain. It's a lot. I could spend the whole day.
The whole day. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Violet, for this impressive profile. And that adds a very great contribution to this panel. I'm going to invite Dr. Lawale Cole from CAFOR. CAFOR standing for the Coalition on Media and Education for Development Africa, African Forum. So Dr. CAFOR, Dr. Cole, if you can hear me, please go ahead, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, moderator. I am Dr. Lawale Cole. I'm the Executive Director of CAFOR. I'm based in the African Union Commission headquarters, and working very closely with the Department of Education, Science, Technology, and Innovation. And CAFOR actually is a membership organization which has members from all over the African continent, basically professionals, experts in every discipline, including in business, in law, in education, and the arts, and so many other areas. So our concern in CAFOR is that recently the population of Africa has been rising tremendously. Young people, and there has been our education systems have not been responding to really the requirements needed for young people to become employed. So we are an advocacy group. Also, we are also in a way we have technical experts in our group in CAFOR, which has right now about 60 members, and are scattered all over the continent in every region, from north, south, east, west, central. And we are basically working with a lot of organizations, including Violet's organization, Association of African Universities, where we regularly attend their meetings, and also other meetings. I'm really thrilled this afternoon to be here to be working especially with ITU, which is a new partner to us, because I see that ICT issues are extremely important, and I will speak about that, of course, and particularly the ICT ecosystems and linking that with educational training in Africa, and how I think we can coordinate our activities together and bring all the expertise that we have at our disposal to make sure that we have an enhanced and successful IT system that will respond to the requirements and needs of Africa, and particularly focusing on.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Cole. Yeah, we really appreciate this introduction. For the sake of time, then we have to come back again to these topics. So let me just move on to the next panelist because we are out of time. Mr. Alex Magu from the STEM Impacts in Nairobi, Kenya. If you're here with us, please, the floor is yours for a 1 minute introduction. Please, let's keep the time. Over to you.
Thank you, Calvin. My name is Alex Magu. I work with the STEM Impact Center, which is based in Nairobi, Kenya. And we run a series of mobile tinkering labs and creative spaces for young people to be able to explore and capacity build in science and technology. I think you've had a lot of emphasis in science, tech, and innovations from Violet and Dr. Lawale. So, and as an institution, we have committed ourselves to reducing inequality gaps, and especially for women and girls who come from low-income areas and marginalized communities. Those are, young people in rural areas, arid and semi-arid areas, and even informal settlements. So do they have access to meaningful learning experiences? So we provide that through our tinkering labs, which are mobile. And the model is we can go to any town, any country, and support our community. And our main mission is based on the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDG 4, and which calls for substantial increase in the number of youth, especially for girls and adults, to have relevant skills, especially vocational and technical, for them to be able to be entrepreneurs, to be able to fit in decent jobs, and as well as to fit in, to be employable. So that's what we're doing here in Kenya, in Nairobi, and we're supporting countries outside Nairobi as well through the mobile tinkering labs. And we're delighted to be part of this workshop.
Thank you so much, Alex. I really appreciate this perspective you bring into the discussion today. I'm going to jump straight to Miss Melanie Keita from Melanin Capital, CEO. Melanie, if you can hear me, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Calvin, and thank you so much for inviting me and Melanie Capito to this wonderful discussion. My name is Melanie Keita. I'm originally from Mali and Congo, actually, and grew up in France my whole life. So as an African of the diaspora, I was very frustrated to not be able to be an entrepreneur and support my home countries, which is why I co-founded last year Melanin Capital, which is the first digital impact investment bank dedicated to African and its diaspora. And our role is really to ensure that our private capital from the continent and from the diaspora can be mobilized to support sustainable businesses and startups in our continent. So we offer digital services on investment processing and investment structuring to support ultimately local small impact businesses in Africa. Thank you so much again for the invitation. I look forward to the conversation.
Our pleasure, Melanie. Thank you for being here and joining me. So I'm going to call in Mr. Dogara Ilaya, the founder for Brilliant Computers. If you can hear me, the floor is yours, Mr. Dogara.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to this wonderful event. My name is Dogara Ilaya, and I am an entrepreneur, a youth advocate, and I am the founder of Brilliant Computers. I am also the champion Nigerian Youth SDGs Network at Adamawa State. So Brilliant Computers is an ICT-based organization incorporated to solve ICT-related problems and to train youth and women on digital skills and computer to close the digital divide. And while the Nigerian Youth SDGs Network is a coalition of youth-led civil society organization made up of up to 250 plus members in 37 states of the Nigeria. Our mission is to amplify the voice of the youth and enhance their participation in the development of agenda in their own country. So I'm very, very happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dogara. I'll simply move on to our next panelist, Mr. Devon Clark, CEO of FieldTech Business Academy. So Devon, if you can hear me, the floor is yours for a quick presentation.
Good afternoon. Thank you so very much for having me. It really is a privilege to be amongst such brilliant minds and engage in these conversations that are necessary for the advancement of Africa and the official acknowledgement of Africa and our foothold into the global economy. So I'm the CEO of FieldTech Business Academy, which also is the big data and end user experience developer, as well as the material developer, such as the following business creativity textbook, which is a blended learning SDG-based curriculum. The entire curriculum that we are developing is wholly based on the SDGs and the accomplishing of the SDGs. So it is to teach social entrepreneurship as well as innovation within entrepreneurship. We have a foothold based in South Africa, but we are looking to obviously diversify and disseminate our courses right through Africa and beyond. And yeah, we look forward to the conversations to follow, as well as the deliverables to follow from the conversations. Thanks very much for having me.
Thank you for keeping time. Thank you, Mr. Devon. I'll simply go to our last panelist, Ms. Mwende Njiraini, Manager, Innovation, Research and Development Communication, Authority of Kenya. If you are here with us, please, the floor is yours for a quick presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Calvin, and thank you to all the panelists that are here. Yes, my name is Mwende Njiraini. I work with the Communications Authority of Kenya at the Research and Innovation Department. I'm here on behalf of a group of, I would say, students or participants that took a course that was facilitated by the ITU. The course is available on ITU Academy, available actually for free. So registered for the course and got accepted. And the course is Digital Innovation, Ecosystem Training, Building Entrepreneurial Communities and Competitive ICT Industries for Job Creation. So I'm here to speak of our experience as a group of 5 from various African countries. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your quick introduction. I really appreciate that. So the floor is now, the panel is set. We need to now come in and see how this perspective come together. So our first round of questions will be on what are some of the approaches to building innovation capacity, and how can we leverage on the partnership. So I may start with Dr. Mukaku, and to see how we can leverage on public and private partnerships to enhance smooth transition of youth skills group from education institution to work or industry. If you can hear me, please, Dr. Makuku, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, these approaches are very, very important. And what I would put across is having students and our youth being taken to the industry floor themselves. I think it's very important because when we talk a bit outside where they are going to work or where they can work, it's also good now to take them there to the shop floor and see in practice what is happening. And in addition to that, we also need to make sure that when we are maybe doing workshopping them or teaching them in cases of universities, the approaches should be learner-centered. They are supposed to be hands-on, minds-on. That is how the skills can be transferred to them. And that is very important, the approaches that we use. And also, in designing our curricula and so on, we are supposed to have the people in different industries coming to make a contribution of what we can have in terms of practicals and what we can have in terms of content of those modules or courses that will make up the program. And we won't miss it. We need to check what is there, which is needed. And you hear the word skills mismatch, skills mismatch. It comes with that people are not coming together. The key stakeholders are not coming together to now say, what is it that industry needs, which we need to train our youth to do and do it perfectly. But without, first of all, building the curricula together, how can we do it? We will have gaps. So we need to bridge those gaps by working together in terms of internships, industrial attachment, field trips. They do help. People go and see the actual things and they also get involved. Thank you.
Thank you for this great perspective for using a user-centric.
You are muted.
Can you hear me? Thank you so much for this perspective you're bringing in, having a user-centric approach with hands-on, practical immersion of the youth so that they can be very guaranteed for these jobs. So thanks for that contribution. I'll see Dr. Cole. How can we accelerate capacity development for stakeholders in ICT ecosystem?
Okay. Let me first of all begin by saying that success of any ecosystem will depend on how various elements interconnect and how they interact with one another.
Okay, sorry, I just request that you can speak up so that we...
Oh, okay, can you hear me? Am I loud enough?
Yes, you're loud enough, thank you.
What I'm saying is that, first of all, the success of any ecosystem will depend on how the various elements interconnect and interact with one another. When we look at the education as an essential priority in all the agenda policies and frameworks of both the United Nations and the African Union, we realize that ICT deployment and integration can improve all facets of our education system. I would like to consider some of the challenges that African education and training systems are facing right now. These include, number one, access to quality education and training in all African, for all African citizens. We have really over 30 million children who are not attending school at the moment. Also, we have a massive shortage of teachers, estimated at 30% of the workforce, of teaching force, of more than 1 million teachers. And also, we have a challenge of improving quality of instruction and teaching methods, enhancing body availability and relevance of the school textbooks. So the fact is that ICT ecosystem can actually enhance the relevance and quality of education and training. And number two, can offer marginalized population groups, particularly female and rural learners, increased opportunities for learning and skills development. Capacity development for key stakeholders in the ICT ecosystem will also empower learners by giving them a digital culture and the ICT knowledge, skills, and qualifications that will enable them to become full-fledged stakeholders in the knowledge society. So there are two issues I would like to consider here. First, integrating ICT in education and training remains a challenge, number one. That's because of our stakeholders, education stakeholders are not sufficiently involved in policy making and steering. And so also, the cultures brought together by the integration process are different. On the one side, you have the highly innovative and dynamic ICT sector, which exists right now, which is developing in both the Western world and in the developing world. And on the other hand, also, education systems remain very conservative as a sector. And this makes the interaction very, very difficult. So in order to ensure that capacity is enhanced, it will be better if we support ongoing dialogue that will bring together decision makers from African education ministries and representatives of development bodies, the private sector, and civil society. Strengthening these partnerships are extremely critical in this platform. And they are quite indispensable to give various stakeholders a shared understanding of ICT opportunities, the policies and strategies needed for efficient use of ICT by education and training systems, and also to ensure that we have the paradigm shifts required are successful for integration of ICT. And what is important here is partnership also. I think partnerships is crucial, and organizations should partner with one another to review lessons drawn from countries that have reached different phases of ICT integration, education, and training. For example, we are talking about the formulation, the financing, implementation, monitoring of ICT policies. ICT as a contributor to teachers' professional development also, and improvement in teaching practices. The development and sharing of digital content should be paramount. There should also be the deployment of ICT hardware, and of course, we have throughout these sessions, I'm hearing you talk about connectivity issues, which are a major challenge, particularly in Africa. Also, there are also challenges in scaling of ICT integration practices. Which means that we have to start new kind of learning opportunities using cell phones, ICT to expand learning opportunities for marginalized population groups, and public-private partnerships for ICT education. Other challenges will include teacher training, and my sister here, Violet, has been talking about curriculum content also that would match skills with jobs to students' information, communication, technology, ICT skills, technical and vocational education, TVET, and also physically bringing technology into the classroom and use it also outside the school to ensure that complete quality learning takes place. So these are the issues which I would like to bring out here, but I can go on and on and on and on. I mean, there are other ongoing projects, programs that we are doing right now at K4. We would like to share them with you, but I would say that finally, in our bid to support an effective, sustainable, and replicable model that will be consistent with the Continental Education Strategy of Africa, CESA 1625, which intends to transform education in Africa. We would also like to work with other organizations, like-minded organizations like ours, to improve the quality of teaching through ICT-based teacher professional development, support school-wide integration of ICT in education, and to improve learning across the curriculum, also improve teaching and learning in STEM subjects to correct the low student take-up and mediocre achievement in STEM subjects, encourage sourcing and regular usage of open education resources, OER, in the classroom, and also define a minimum and affordable technology configuration of schools. Here, I would like to see, how, we can interact with each other. I know that the AU is very easy for me to interact with the African University because we are like-minded. We are thinking about the same things. And certainly, Violet and I, we have met many times, and certainly in many forums here in the African Union and elsewhere, but certainly we should get together more and see how we can look at this issues I've just highlighted. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cole, and yeah, the contribution, the points here are very essential. For what I think, we need to have sort of investment of quality, both at the students and the teachers level. We need to have inclusion and capacitation of the stakeholders in general. Content creation and also infrastructure is key. These are some of the recommendations we are gladly taking in. And I was just talking about STEM. I have an entrepreneur in the STEM sector, which is Alex. So I just have a question for you, Alex. So what were the contribution factors for your tech entrepreneurship journey and leadership, especially in supplementing kids' numeracy and literacy skills through STEM collaboration with other stakeholders? The floor is yours, Alex, if you can hear me.
That's a good question, Calvin. And I draw my inspiration into the entrepreneurship journey from my own experience. About 25 years ago, I was a 3-year-old in a remote village in Murang'a, which is in Kenya. And growing up in the village, I will say all I aspired to be was a police officer, because over the holidays, national holidays, you'll see police march, and it really ticked me and it was intriguing for me. Until my family was fortunate enough to come to the city. And in the city, I met a new perspective. I came across computers and I fell in love with computers from a very young age. I think in grade 7, I knew I'm going to do something in computing. However, going on into high school, so I dropped physics, which is a requirement for you to do computer science. You must have done physics in your high school. So I went to university, and shock on me, I am applying for computer science at the University of Nairobi, and you know, the whole world crashing on you. So eventually I didn't end up doing computer science. I went for political science, but I still had that strong interest for technology. So the university had a fab lab. I spent a lot of time there learning 1, 2, or 3. And you know, one day I thought, how many young people have to go through what I've gone through? Dreams shattered of what you want to become, and you know, the aspiration. So I took it upon myself that I'm going to mentor young people into tech and science and technology. And since that day, our journey has been phenomenal. We've been able to reach many young children through partnerships, especially the government of Kenya, through the ministry and Semester. We were able to do a pilot STEM program together with them. And my story was the inspiration to starting the STEM program. And the question was, our teachers are not trained in ICT, they're not trained in engineering or computer science, but you've asked us to do a program in robotics and coding. So I gave them my story and my background, and that's how the journey of entrepreneurship took many steps, and among many other things. But it takes a lot of curiosity and determination. And I believe our young people are more than capable into being innovators, creating the next cutting edge technology that will not only affect or impact our community, but worldwide. So it has been an area of passion and interest from a young age to pursue technology. But you know, losing that opportunity, for me, it was not the end for me. I ended up in a field whereby I will make sure that I reach as many young people. And like Dr. Violet and Dr. Lordy have said, that the future is in science and technology. And it's the high time that we get prepared for the 4th industrial revolution. So, and the question is, what are we doing to prepare our young children, not us, our young children who are in grade 3 and grade 4, they're already born into technology. So they know how to operate a computer, a mobile phone by the time they are in their 3rd year, they're 3 years old. So how we also incorporating this curious mind, the imaginative, into meaningful and appropriate pedagogy for that to be matched in the classroom. So we do cooperate with a lot of institutions, mostly in teaching and learning, so that we're able to develop appropriate activities that will not only enhance numeracy and literacy, but mentor young children, and they become, you know, they aspire to solve their own community problems with the technology that we have, in aspiration that we're going to have the next big thing out of Africa. So, and that has been the entrepreneurship among the many journeys that, and I will say it takes a lot more to be where we are and interesting in our young people. So I'm here because of many actors who have also been working with us.
Thank you so much, Alex, for this great perspective. Yeah, it is believed that the continent has a very young and untapped potential. So exposure of this youth at the very early stage is essentially key. Collaboration, partnership, inspiration is also essential. With this, I'll have to get into the innovation, and I'll see one innovator here with us, Melanie, in the fintech sector. I just want to know, how do you foster blended finance collaborations and public-private partnerships to support impact-driven entrepreneurs in Africa? The floor is yours, Melanie, if you can hear me.
Yes, thank you so much, Kevin. And yes, blended finance is actually at the core of what we do, because after the training part that Dr. Makuku and Dr. Cole and Alex have explained, there is a need that for entrepreneurs to then get access to finance to be able to scale up their innovation. For even us, Melanin Capital, it was a very big challenge to be able to develop our product, because when you start with your idea, with your concept, and you have to build the technology to then gain money, nobody is interested in financing your business in the meantime. So you really have to bootstrap, and you have to find also people that believe in your project to volunteer in the meantime when you don't have the revenues that are generated. So our role was really to understand how we could support entrepreneurs that were still not at the stage where they could be interesting for traditional financiers like private investors, private capital investors, or banks, and how we could support them to get to that level of bankable and investable, let's say. So we basically worked with this concept of blended finance, because even me personally in my career as an impact investor, I've been working a lot with those concepts, mixing basically private capital, so direct lending or direct equity capital, and grants, so guarantees from public donors, to enhance basically the impact of our investments. And I thought, how can we actually not only support 1 to 10 entrepreneurs, but how can we do it for a large number of entrepreneurs, like 300 or 500, leveraging on technology? And this is what we've managed to achieve actually with one of our largest partners, Absa Bank and the African Guarantee Fund, to support 300 women entrepreneurs in Kenya through our investment processing and investment structuring service. So on one hand, we use grants to finance investment readiness and training programs for those women entrepreneurs. We explain to them how to fundraising. We give them all the concepts. We support in preparing all the documentation for their loans, and we audit them. And then on the other side, we structure with ABSA and the African Guarantee Fund a direct credit line that would be guaranteed up to 70% to support those entrepreneurs and not require from them any collateral. So this helps basically for very small businesses that need maybe only from $1,000 up to 100,000 to have access to finance that would be without collateral, let's say, and that would be easier accessible for them. So this is why we believe that blended finance collaborations can really support to achieve more impact, to go into sectors that needs more inclusion for women and youth, or to support, for example, climate change adaptation technologies, which are not yet ready and needs more patient capital or less demanding capital, let's say, to grow. So yeah, that's basically the whole scope, I would say.
Thank you so much, Melanie. It's known that Africa needs entrepreneurs, and funding seems to be their primary delimiting factor. So with the blended financial, we believe that we can at least rescue the innovation potential of our entrepreneurs in Africa, especially women entrepreneurship. Thank you for the contribution. I will move on to Mr. Dogara, who may tell us more about how we can bring all this together and ensure that there's effective delivery. So Mr. Dogara, the question for you is, how can the government, schools, and the private ICT training centers prepare young people to be innovators, entrepreneurs, entrepreneurship driven and employable in today's digital world in order to contribute to the development of society and closing the digital divide? If you can hear me, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, I would like to start with a brief background from Adamawa State. So Adamawa, also called the Land of Beauty, is a state in northern Nigeria that has been disturbed by the insurgency of Boko Haram. Maybe you guys have heard about it for over 10 years, and many communities were displaced. So I grew up in the capital city, which is Yola, where almost everybody around me is an IDP in one way or the other, which increased unemployment rate and introduction of some gang within the state capital. So this is because the young people are unable to access job or opportunities due to lack of employment credibility and competency in computer and digital literacy. I met a number of young people who are ready to work but don't possess the credibility or the required skills needed in certain workspace. So many of us struggle to understand what is being written. Like if you are given something, okay, can you read? Yes, you can read. But as a result of poor education system, we are unable to understand it. So that is why Brilliant Computers has now come in to educate the young people on digital skills and computer. So this is challenging as more jobs and opportunities are out there, but our young people are not well equipped to access them, and entrepreneurship, on the other hand, is not encouraged from day one. Our parents down here only told us to go to school, get your degree and get a government job, and that is it. So some solutions I think government, schools, and ICT institutes can do to help prepare young people to be innovative, entrepreneurship-driven, and employable is government should invest more in teachers to provide them with trainings that will lead to a positive transformation in our education system, to prepare our young, and empower our young generation with quality education, because we are lacking that down here. So government should also collaborate with youth-led organizations, NGOs, and other private entities to create platforms for youths graduating from secondary school level to take interns in various organizations and workshops to learn physical skills for at least 3 months before moving to the university. Also, training for employment should also be designed to equip fresh graduates from the university and some out-of-school youths with employability, computer and digital literacy. Another thing that can help foster this is creation of job clubs. So government or private organization can create job clubs that bring youths in search of jobs to discuss about their problems and possible ways to prepare themselves for the right job position and seek advice from experts where needed. Also, the government should create entrepreneurship hubs and come up with innovative ways to support, recognize, and showcase young entrepreneurs and innovators within the local and state level, with the winning prizes for great project ideas. That is, if you have a great project idea, government can support you and take you to the next level. So this will encourage young people to develop unique and productive ideas that will contribute greatly to the development of our community. So when it comes to ICT training centers down here, we only tend to train on only computer, but I will encourage ICT Training Institute to also develop curriculum that will equip our young people with digital and soft skills, not just computer training, because adding soft skills and digital skills to a computer class curriculum will make young people job ready and be able to start career in their course of study, whether they study graphic design, they study web development. So with the soft skills they have and the digital skills they acquire, they can be able to start a career in their course of study or gain employment. So schools also need to take computer education seriously down here by employing certified ICT teachers and having a standard computer hub for practical, as teaching only the theoretical aspect of computer in secondary school level will not equip our young people with the right knowledge needed. So I think with these measures put in place, I believe our young people have a better chance of becoming innovators, entrepreneurship driven and employable in Adamawa State. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this great perspective. We simply understand from here that we need to find a way to unlock the mindset change we expect from the youth in order to create entrepreneurs right from the tender age. You've mentioned quite a lot of initiatives going on in Adamawa State, and we understand the context in that region, job clubs, the entrepreneurship hubs. Now, these are some of the initiatives we can leverage upon. And that takes me to our next panelist, Mr. Devon. Are there challenges that still exist beyond the creation of entrepreneurship? Especially in terms of labor, because jobs is all about jobs. What are the perspectives? The floor is yours.
Yes, most definitely. So within South Africa, we found that we have an unemployment rate within the youth of well over 50%. So with that comes a skills shortage. So this is why Philtech has designed an ecosystem approach to the creation of entrepreneurs as well as the creation of jobs. So that then provides us with a platform to provide a specific andragogy that is pertinent to skills development, not only for entrepreneurs and the creation of entrepreneurs, but also for skills developments within TVET colleges and the like, so that we can also uplift the working community that will be employed eventually by our entrepreneurs, so as to create an ecosystem that is supported from bottom upwards. It's important that we ensure that we get all the key players involved in the creation of entrepreneurs. That's why we have a strong focus on key strategic partnerships, which is SDG 17, which then leads us towards accurate and pertinent education, being SDG 4, as well as in the creation of jobs, which is SDG 8. So we have a very keen focus on focusing on tapping into and unearthing innovation and entrepreneurship within the disadvantaged communities, be it rural or township communities, which is quite vast within South Africa, and as well as the landscape up north, right through Africa. And with that, we then look to establish local incubation hubs, which through the inclusion of the local community, the skills development of the local community, as well as including the plugins of the necessary key strategic partners, be it from local NPOs that deal with ECD, right up to those that are involved in initiatives within those communities, such as agriculture, whatever it may be. We then look to plug those into the ecosystem so as to create social entrepreneurship with a social awareness of what the communities are actually in need of. And then using the education that we provide, because it's mindset driven, our first course is a blended learning course, which is purely based on creating the entrepreneurial mindset. And that mindset isn't just something that is needed for entrepreneurs, but it's also needed for the workforce to understand what entrepreneurs are actually going through, what they're looking to develop, and what their vision is, so as to buy into the culture of the entrepreneur in the business, and also to drive the passion within the business as well. You know, you need to have that buy-in from the staff and from your work colleagues, as well as the community, so as to ensure that you have a catalytic intervention. If we can teach how to learn as well as then how to teach, we are then able to create a generational knock-on effect through entrepreneurship and through job creation. So that's why we look so carefully at building an inclusive ecosystem. There's been so much that's been said towards mindset. There's been so much that's been said towards leaving no one behind. And this is exactly why we look to then, through the open dissemination of accurate and applicable education, that we can provide dignity as well as hope and opportunity to those that exist within the disadvantaged communities that have unfortunately had education withdrawn and thus opportunities withdrawn. And that's exactly what Philtech is built for. You know, we have the big data center, which is the Business Academy, which generates material for our entrepreneurs, as well as creates end user experience. But on the ground, we have our nonprofit company, which is the Institute for Entrepreneurship. And the basis for the Institute of Entrepreneurship is to be that vehicle for transformation, where we have an absolutely inclusionary clause where those that are disadvantaged, women, children, whomever, that we have a direct way to create an intervention that will then provide them with education that is applicable. And this is why we then look to not only affect the creation of entrepreneurs, but to backward integrate our education right down to ECD level eventually, where we can start to create a mindset from a very young age, as Dr. Makuku alluded to, is that we have to get down to grassroots. We have to understand that the curricula doesn't just start after school and higher education, that we have to backward integrate our education back to ECD, back to childhood. Again, going to Mr. Magu's comments about learning and being introduced to computers when he's 3 years old. These are all things that we need to tap into. We are fortunate, all of us here that are on the panel today, we are unfortunate enough to have been unearthed. We have been discovered, we have discovered, but it is now up to us to be the platform to start journeying with our entrepreneurs and unearthing the talents that exist within Africa and teaching them how to leverage what we have, as well as understanding what we're still lacking and how we can then create that to create a supportive role. So right down from the creation of the entrepreneurs to creating interns that through the incubation hubs that we create through the Institute of Entrepreneurship, that they can then experience entrepreneurship. And that from that, they can then become interns to the entrepreneurs that are within the co-op workspace, within the incubation hubs, as well as then provide them with a community linkage so that they can then go and practice within the community and go and see what is lacking within the community to identify opportunities for business creation. And that will then obviously lead us to our main vision for our incubation hubs is for that to be the center of smart city development, so that the TVET colleges and the NPOs and NPCs and the community that is linked in the locality, they then have a direct buy-in in the creation of the smart city. They have a direct buy-in in the integration of their community with other communities within the Fulltech group, as well as our key strategic partnerships. And with those smart cities, it then allows them the necessary access and the ability to trade between communities as well. And that's the main vision of the Fulltech group and how we then look to disseminate and use our education, our entrepreneurial education, to create sustainable and catalytic interventions within the creation of entrepreneurship and innovation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Clark, for this great input. With this, we may close the first round of our questions then and move on to the second panel. And there are questions in the chat. We're capturing that for the later stage of this. With this, we can move on to the second one. And the second round of questions will be more oriented towards how we may proceed and streamline these approaches we have brought in here. I'll start with Dr. Makuku, Violet, and ask you what are some of the new approaches to building innovation capacity, and how can we empower and engage community to build their own ecosystem? If you can hear me, Dr. Violet, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. May you please repeat the question again?
Yes. What are some new approaches towards building innovation capacity, and how can we empower and engage communities to build their own ecosystem?
Okay, thank you so much. For example, I think just the last speaker was talking about Institute of Entrepreneurship. And in your head, you can imagine what goes on in there. And I look at innovation hubs, what can go in there. all these things, I think when I look at the youth and realizing that most of these ones, they are coming from high school, they are now entering universities. And we have a lot of state universities. I think it's up to our vice chancellors and the university leadership to approach government to make sure that they are supported into having these innovation hubs, having these institutes of entrepreneurship also across the continent. And these should not be limited to the business studies area, because sometimes you find if it is in a university, it can be in the faculty of business and what have you. No, everybody else needs this, such that if we are looking at the school system, maybe from kindergarten to university, we need to have some entrepreneurship courses or modules that are offered to children, to students, to the youth. Some of them can have mini projects that they can be asked to do. And you know, at every level, this can be done, but they begin to appreciate. I remember last holiday, I have children 10, a girl 10 and a boy 10. I took them for classes for robotics. The whole holiday, they were not staying at home. So when they went there, they were practically taught on how to build robots and how robots operate. Imagine a 10-year-old, but in some instances, you find even at a younger age than 10, some can now do it. And so by the time they go to higher levels, they are accumulating these skills, these approaches. But by the time they reach to the higher level, where we now want them to make use of these skills, they've accumulated more of them. What I also want to say is that, ladies and gentlemen, the world is moving forward very, very fast. I think you agree with me that every month we hear banks saying systems upgrade. Hospitals are upgrading their systems. Governments are upgrading their systems to be digital, to have digital and ICT driven workspaces. So what I'm saying by this is that we do not have a choice. We do not have a choice, and therefore we need to take note of the fact that whatever we are pushing to the youth, whether in the school or in the university, whatever it is, there should be an appendage of some ICT something. Those who do art, music, design, dance, everything, there should be an ICT component. I think Dr. Cole just captured it very, very well. But for it to happen now, those who teach those skills, they need staff development. They need regular capacity building, so that if it is a lecturer, if it is a teacher, they need to be taught those skills. So that somebody talked about conservative education. We remain with conservative education when we are not retraining and retooling those who are supposed to teach our youth. And so it should be a multi-pronged approach of capacity building for everybody who is involved, so that we are at the same level. So these lecturers, teachers are trained to teach in a different way and to teach those things which we want to be transmitted to the youth. And then they go and disseminate. The youth absorb, and we know we have changed that generation. And that is very, very key. I want to say two things before you stop me. Number one, these days, lifelong learning is for real, and people should take it seriously. Every skill that you need, I think Devon talked about the skills gap. And earlier on, Alex talked about it as well, that we have skills gaps. This is real. But what we need to do now is to bring all stakeholders, like I've said. But the most important thing is lifelong learning. If you look at the time when Moodle platform came, it was simple. But now something called the big blue button is there. If you don't retrain lecturers on the new Moodle platform and improve the Moodle platform, then it means they won't be able to teach as students. And you go on to look, there are too many examples I can give. And then I want to say, the current statement, which we shouldn't forget, which is going across all the time, is that because things are changing too fast, we say the learned of the 21st century are no longer those who can read and write, but they are those who can learn, unlearn, and relearn. So each time we need to unlearn certain things and throw them away. We learn new things and run with them. When they are obsolete, we throw them away. So you can't say, I did this last year. No, last year is too late. So what will happen if you don't do that? You become irrelevant. When you become irrelevant, you become obsolete. And then you die a natural death. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Makuku. That's very inspiring. And yeah, thank you for stressing on the impact. And Devon just mentioned that. I think the local incubators we have in South Africa and also the Entrepreneurship Institute can be, a model that we can use to leverage upon to have the significant changes we're recommending. And the emphasis on lifelong learning also is essential. We need to, as you said, unlearn and relearn all the time. So I'm moving now to Dr. Cole. Dr. Cole, if you can hear me, what tools, new approaches, and partnerships are needed to embrace the new paradigm in capacity development? The floor is yours for about 2 minutes of intervention. Thank you, Dr. Cole.
Okay, first of all, we must put a higher emphasis on workforce skills. I think everybody here is talking about workforce skills now. I've had Alex, I've had Devon, Dr. Makuku, we're all talking about it now. So let's put a high emphasis on that. While we may still not consider worker skills in some quarters to be the most prominent obstacle in job creation in Africa, but there can be no doubt that all countries will benefit from new investment and reforms to raise education systems quality, and this quality education. That's the second thing. In such investment,
Dr. Cole, if you can increase your volume, please. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm
yes,
sorry.
Thank you.
I have to speak louder. I'm using a very small device. That is why maybe what I was saying that we have to put emphasis on worker skills because we have all been talking about it since the beginning of this session. The other thing is that we should not only invest at formal primary and secondary education. We have just said that lifelong learning is something that we should, follow. Dr. Makuku has just said that. I think that I agree with that 100%. But also, we should make sure that we have significantly more technical and vocational training and a refocusing of tertiary education in the engineering, mathematics, science, and other marketable skills. Okay? Africa may also want to review the situation in non-formal and informal sectors. I mean, Dr. Makuku has just alluded to that. Also, programs such as worker training on entrepreneurship support, when done alone, just like that, are not likely to have any significant impact. But because barriers to growth, that is, barriers to job growth are the same factors that dampen Africa's overall economic growth. So therefore, African governments need to target their reform programs well enough to remove all barriers and also unleash private sector growth. I would also want to say that, come back to the issue of partnerships. We should also ensure that technical partners from all, at all levels are able to design programs, training programs for secondary graduates on matters related to mathematics, science, subjects, engineering, technology, and other types of innovation. Because when we're talking about partnership now, it's not only, we have different partners, each one doing their different things, but at least they can come together and design something that is unique so that, the curriculum can be easily followed. I would like to now allude to what we are doing at CAFOR so that, you know, just to share some of the experiences as well as to see, you know, how that can contribute to these new approaches and partnership that we need to embrace the paradigm in capacity development. First of all, we are focusing on communication. You know, so we are a media and education group, and want to enhance dialogue on innovative skills for Africa's youth. We want to design specific communication messages for the public to enhance dialogue, boost awareness of the importance of these subjects, change mindsets, ensure the development of positive attitudes towards sciences, and encourage young Africans in the continent to embrace science, technology, vocational education and training, and other entrepreneurship-related disciplines. And we will also want to enhance dialogue mechanisms among selected number of enterprises. We have talked about entrepreneurs and enterprises here. I think Devon gave us a very, very good example of you know, what they are doing in terms of entrepreneurship. And want to ensure that there are established institutions to support employment-oriented skills development, so that we could support enterprises, the one that Devon is leading, the one that Alex is doing. I mean, Alex is a very young man, giving us a very good example of his childhood until university, and now, you know, he's doing something fantastic. Now, we'd like you to share some of these things with us, you know, because we are in the education sector, and we would like to know for sure, you know, what has been going on at the, you know, at the grassroots level on the ground. Because sometimes we are too academic, you know, and we tend to, you know, do research here and there and write books and say, well, this is what, you know. But if we know exactly what we are doing, we can have, you know, more grassroots information. Yeah. We can enhance our training, and that training will ensure that access to employment-oriented skills development for young people is improved with specific measures to address the specific needs for employment opportunities for women, youth, and vulnerable groups, including students from low-income groups, refugees, migrants, IDPs, disadvantaged and disabled. Okay.
Dr. Cole, I may want to interrupt you here because we are left with a lot of time to soon end. Can you wrap up in just 30 seconds?
Yes, the other thing I want to talk about is that we should be engaging with the private sector and other stakeholders. You know, the private sector has been neglected for a very, very long time by African governments. They leave them to do on their own, the private informal sector. You know, when you're in private sector and you're very rich, you have good capital, well, somebody will follow you. But if you're struggling, then you're left on your own. I think we should engage the private sector and ensure that it contributes to improving skills development by participating in design and development of employment-oriented skills, and also ensure through advocacy and communication programs that lessons learned, best practices are disseminated at the national, regional, and continental levels. I think I'll stop here for now since we are out of time. Thank you.
We are out of time. Thank you so much, Dr. Cole. I'll jump straight with that transition to Alex to see some of the approaches we can use to catalyze social innovation and tech entrepreneurship in Africa. Alex, if you can hear me, share with us some of the approaches. Thank you. Alex?
Thank you, Calvin.
Yes, please. So what are these approaches necessary to catalyze social innovation and tech entrepreneurship in Africa?
Yeah, I definitely believe to catalyze social innovations in Africa, and I think even globally, we need to embrace a triple helix approach, which works across government, private sector, academia, and including other non-state actors. So, because I believe each one of these have their own roles that they can play as innovators, entrepreneurs, policy level. So, and I liked the comment by Dr. Lodi that there's need to connect or bridge the gap between the academia and the grassroots organization. So, using this approach, it can be one of the ways in which a partnership through many actors can be formulated so that lessons from the ground are able to also be incorporated in research and moving on. Secondly, I will emphasize more on an ecosystem approach. And we all believe and we know that if you want to go far, you need to work with other people. So, this may go also to the young people. As young people in the continent, we don't have, or we may not have as much resources we need to accelerate our innovations. We need to be in groups of like-minded organizations. We leverage on our strengths to support one another. And it's a model that has worked really well at the STEM Impact Center. And we realized this. We began the STEM Impact Center, and our approach was to work with other like-minded organizations. And we've been able to grow even outside the country without even setting up offices in those countries. So how are we doing this? It's now we leverage on one another, how we can be able to support other organizations. The other thing I may emphasize is connectivity in terms of infrastructure, broadband. It's really important that we are able to connect with one another across continent, across the nations, across villages. So, and connectivity is a big issue, especially in rural areas, arid lands. So why are we leaving those young people behind? So we need to also to invest in such infrastructures that bring about connectivity. The other will be, creating a culture in favor of STEM education. And why am I saying this? I have had an experience in our center and the communities we go. People, when we're teaching robotics, coding, mobile app development, you'll find that, and majority are parents, they don't see the benefit of what we are doing with their young children or the youth. What they are looking for is grades. Okay, we need to ensure that we sensitize our people down here that it is of importance that we know what science and technology it is all about. We've become consumers rather than creators. How are we going to prepare our young people? In the fourth industrial revolution, is it that we're going to be left another 100, 200 years behind? So it is because our culture is not that favorable to STEM education. And through partnerships and linkages, we can be able to catalyze social innovations across Africa in any field, not only STEM education, can be in sexual reproductive, energy. All these are factors that catalyze innovations globally.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this input, Alex. And that brings it to the previous comment by our other members. So I still remind the panel that Ms. Mwende will have to make a presentation shortly. So we just prepared a presentation. We need to allocate time for that. So I just move on to our next panelist, Melanie. Just tell us how we can mobilize private capital locally and from the African diaspora while leveraging on digital technologies to support entrepreneurs and give them access to finance. Over to you, maybe if you have 1 minute to wrap up. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll be short, Kevin. Thank you so much. So mobilizing private capital and especially capital from the diaspora is key, but at the same time is one of the biggest challenge on the continent. As at Melanin Capital, we realized that only 30% of this private capital is actually mobilized towards our local private sector and even more so on SDG private sector. So this is something that we are trying to solve actually. And we realized that the problem to mobilize private capital and the capital from the diaspora was risk and cost. So this is actually two things that we can solve with technology. We are reducing cost by using a digital solution and processing all the due diligence process through our technology, from formalizing small businesses through financial accounting that is done automatically through our platform, to even automatizing the audit and rating scoring, rating risk scoring, so that the investors can feel a bit more confident and have more trust towards those businesses without paying all the money that is usually mobilized to pay lawyers and tax and accounting auditors. The second part is the risk, and we discussed this a little bit with blended finance, but that's a key to try to provide blended finance providers with technological infrastructure where they can plug in into a program that have large volumes of startups to support and guarantee the investments of those private investors. So for us, this is really like the core of our let's say vision, because we know that there is $300 billion of US dollars out there from private savings of Africans through banks, pension funds, or through the diaspora remittances that are still not leveraged on to support entrepreneurs that are being, for example, trained by Alex or Devon on the ground and needs this capital to go to the next level. So that's, let's say, how we are solving the problem.
Thank you so much, Melanie, for this great approach. And I'll simply move to Mr. Dogara. What are the main contributors of digital literacy gaps among the youth of Africa? And how do the gap affect the development of innovation and job creation? If you can hear me, please, you have 1 minute to wrap up.
Yes, thank you for this question. First of all, I would like to start with why is digital literacy important to youth? So we live in an information era where internet access is the foundational tool used to access key information and digital media necessary to navigate our daily lives. So understanding how to ethically use the internet and other technologies is critical in helping young people achieve their goals. So in my research, according to the Internet World Statistics, Africa's internet penetration is 43.2% for now, which is the lowest compared to the rest of the continent across the globe. So there are many factors contributing to digital literacy gap in Africa, but lack of basic infrastructure put in place had a huge impact on the development of tech innovation and job creation, especially amongst the youth during this pandemic. So for example, here in Adamawa State, there are jobs online, but it is very, very difficult for normal youths to apply, despite the fact that he has an Android device in his hands. He cannot operate it to get things done in appropriate. And I can say that 60% of people in Adamawa State who have access to Android devices only use it to make calls, watch movies, play games, music, and take only pictures. And this really affects the gaps between the digital literacy. So the question is, how do we bridge these literacy gaps? So to close these gaps, they need to focus on developing the infrastructures necessary to provide access to digital technologies in the continent's most vulnerable communities is very, very crucial. There is also need for government, private entities, and NGOs to collaborate and develop programs that build young people's capacity in computer and digital literacy in rural areas and cities to connect the digital divide. That is training the rural people on digital and computer skills in the massive scales by the government. So because
sorry, I
yes.
have to interrupt you because we are out of time.
Okay, thank you.
We appreciate this contribution. I'll just let Mr. Devon just quickly, possibly within 1 minute, tell us if this approach of entrepreneurship is enough to change the tide of joblessness and reliance in Africa. Mr. Devon, please, you have 1 minute to give us that perspective.
Sure. Unfortunately not. The creation of entrepreneurs is not enough. There has to be buy-in from all stakeholders. And that is going to be from, first of all, everyone on the panel, all of the people listening, as well as government agencies, right down to our presidents. They need to make a call for proper action, as well as the realization for the youth to understand just how much of their future is in their hands, and that they have a direct effect on their joblessness, and that they have an opportunity through organizations such as ourselves, and I speak of ourselves broadly as everyone here on the panel, that there's opportunity. And it's for us to obviously educate them, as Dr. Coles mentioned, that we need to market this, make them available, make sure that they know of the availability of these interventions, and to also understand that it's not just a single intervention. It's something that should be lifelong. The way the Philtech intervention works is that it's a lifelong commitment. We provide them with a lifelong access to all the material that we do provide, which is the fundamentals of sustainable entrepreneurship. It's a complete course, a complete curriculum that we're busy developing. So far we have 8 courses outlined, 6 of which are going to be in development soon. And that's a blended learning course that then enables them to build their mentality, build their mindset, as well as build themselves as a sustainable organization with impact, as well as having a social entrepreneurship key element towards their education as well as towards their business. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Clark, for keeping the time. And I'll invite Ms. Mwende to make her presentation right now. I don't know if the technical support can enable that.
Good afternoon, everyone. A pleasure to be here. I mean, it's really great to listen to everybody. As I mentioned, I was part of a team that took a course with the ITU, and great to hear the initiatives that you have, because indeed for us, most of us that were on the course were policymakers, people from government, because I think that is the focus of or the intended audience or the target audience for the course. But we also had entrepreneurs and people in private sector. So what you have been saying, I have been listening, and the course, offered us an opportunity to say, we sit in our offices, we sit in meetings, but are we doing what you want us to do for you to enable you to, provide the service or the innovation that you are thinking about? So during the course, we were divided up in groups. Our group was team 5 and selected an area that we can, consider for support. And we did something on creating a sustainable technology-driven agriculture ecosystem. Every one of us has said we have a large population of youth. So indeed, if we have so many people, we need food. We need agricultural systems that are able to provide us with food. So I think we can move to the next slide. Okay, so our idea was to ensure that all African countries have sustainable food security and safety by 2025 by developing strong and competitive tech-driven agricultural ecosystem. Maybe I should have indicated at the very beginning that, as I said, all of us were different from different places, policymakers, regulators, government officials. And the idea is we always say, okay, innovators, come to us and we'll show you how, pitch to us. So this is me as a regulator or a policymaker, a government entity trying to pitch to you. So our problem was how to explore agricultural innovation ecosystem and how to, at the end, get sustainable food production. I think we are on the next slide. And so that was our problem. At the very top, you see, we were using an application called Mural. I think the previous slide, please. Yes, that slide, yes. So our problem, what's the question? How to explore agricultural innovation in the ecosystem. So we used the Mural app, and as you can see, a lot of posters, and the idea is to create ideas. So what you come up with a problem. So one of them is lack of political will and failure to effectively implement strategies, because all our governments in Africa have fantastic strategies, documents, but implementation is probably another story. So there's probably also a lack of access to technology. Farmers do not have access to technologies. We have investors, Melanie is being one of them, Alex being one of them as well. We have innovators, but they're struggling. And why are they struggling? Probably we'll look for the solution for that, maybe policy implementation, financing. So we identified, as you see, the yellow stickers, what are the problems? Then the purple stickers are quite small. I'm also are the challenges. So there's lack of policy, there's lack of lobbying for the appropriate policies. So as Melanie, Alex, you want probably something in finance, something in education, something in technology. So are you lobbying to the right ministries, to the right regulators? And so the purple stickers indicate the challenges that we found. And maybe moving on. Yeah, so here we're trying to build the solution for an ecosystem strategy. So moving with the purple stickers, as we said, for example, lack of policy, lobbying to the appropriate agencies, lack of training, which was one of the issues that we covered in this session. So training and capacity to enhance approaches to, and for our project was agriculture. So is there training, sufficient training to support farming systems, technology farming systems? Then probably there's no platform for the ecosystem to, ecosystems players to come together to, provide sustainable food. So because the ecosystem is the government, and it's another slide, the government, the logistics, because the farmer, yes, produces crops, but maybe by the time they reach market, they are spoiled or can't stay on. So there's need for us to also look at the whole ecosystem. Then, so as you see, all this is idea generation through the mural. It was quite an interesting experience. So maybe moving on to the next one. And from this, we identified what are the strategic priority areas. And probably one of the solutions would be, what is in the yellow stickers is maybe we need continuous exchange of information through training and seminars. We definitely need supportive policy environment for agricultural initiatives. We need to encourage funding, because that's a key, that is enough funding coming into the country, our African countries, to develop agricultural systems that are innovative. So is the FDI directed to agriculture? We need e-commerce, because now everybody is online. I take my mobile phone, and if you're in an African country, of course, most of us are, would send a message to, the lady who sells vegetables outside your gate or on your street to deliver, tomatoes, onions, etc. So that is our form of e-commerce. And if we can enhance this to encourage more people or farmers to actually, have sustainable development, that they know by the time they produce a crop, they know who their market is. So there's efficiency in terms of the system. So, and also through that, we are able to collect data, and through data collection, you can then enhance food production. Maybe more people want maize rather than millet. Maybe more people want tomatoes rather than, any other vegetable. And also we are looking at deploying technology to enhance weather prediction. All of us in our countries are facing climate change. So how do we enhance the data we get from our, meteorological organizations, or even our own? One of the examples that we had in our group is that if, for example, Alex, you're in Kenya, and you know that if you see the jacaranda trees flower, or you see safari ants moving, then you know the rain is coming. So how can we enhance traditional means of, there was one of our groups saying we have rainmakers in Africa. Is it possible that we can gain their knowledge and put it on an, enhance it and integrate it in technology? So moving on to the next slide. So we have talked about stakeholders, all of us, in areas of finance, education, and this is stakeholder mapping for agriculture. So stakeholder mapping, you'd say, for example, there are those stakeholders you need to keep satisfied, there are those you need to actively engage, those that need just to be informed, and those, you need to monitor what are they doing in terms, for example, with that, maybe the entrepreneurs like yourselves, academia, is there research coming out on agricultural systems that needs to be implemented. In terms of those that need to be kept informed, and so, improve their interest and availability is entrepreneurs, because are we encouraging people to come into farming? I know there's a move, most people, when they seek to retire in Africa, always go towards farming and say, okay, I'm going back to my rural area and I'm going to farm because I have a big farm. I've been living in a city in a flat, and now I have space and I have time and I'll go back. So are we also encouraging entrepreneurs to come into the sector? Also, we have, for example, ministries of youth and etc., who we can encourage the youth to come into. So this is kind of stakeholder mapping, who, where, and what you need to keep, we needed to keep engaged so that we can, at the end of the day, achieve our objective. So moving on to the next slide. Okay.
So we have about
we have identified
to wrap up, if you don't mind, please.
Okay, yeah, just about to finish. So we have identified one of the problems is policy. There's not supportive policy, maybe stakeholder know-how of the challenges involved in agriculture and agricultural innovation ecosystems, also in terms of capabilities. So once we have identified the problems, then we seek solutions. And as you see, I'm moving on with my sticky notes and placing them, we place them in particular places so that for the problem on policy, I would say there's need for data collection, there's need for connectivity, etc. And for the solution, which is the green sticky note, is probably come up with a think tank. For stakeholder know-how is need for us to have a platform for capacity building or sharing of knowledge on a regional basis, on a national basis. And in terms of capabilities, maybe an avenue or a platform to share information in the ecosystem, what is new, where you are at, can we implement it? And so moving on to the next slide. Okay, so we are inviting you to help us realize our dream. So join us in the journey of unlocking the potential of the agricultural sector in Africa so that we can deliver or provide for our citizens, for ourselves, safe and reliable quality food, and at the end of the day, solve world hunger. So I believe that's the last but one slide. So this is our team. We had a group from Botswana, Goitse, Paulina's from Nigeria, Mavis from Ghana, and Mr. Ba from the Gambia, and myself. And the last slide. Yeah, so let us work together for a green and sustainable future. And yeah, I hope I have done a good job. I'm a policy maker. I don't have.
I know, absolutely. Thank you very much, Ms. Wendy, for this excellent presentation. Yeah, absolutely. That was a great job done.
Maybe I would really push for it, but that was our experience, and I would like to really thank the ITU for the opportunity to, for the course. We've been at it for 2 months. So more thank you. And all the rest of the team for your dedication for the last 2 months, and we continue on the course. We are not yet through, so thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wendy. And I'm going to invite the translation, the interpreters, to stay a little bit for 5 extra minutes, the time for us to wrap up. If they don't mind, they hear me, please stay on for the translation. I just need to jump in straight to some questions we got from the chat, and before we make a panel roundtable to get the final points from the final words from the participants, from panelists. So I have a question there that comes in. Give me one moment. I'll just ask Victoria to please bring up the questions we've received so far, if there is. I see one first question from Ms. Cole. How do you envision that that very needed bridge between the bridge building between fast advancing innovative sectors and the conservative ones? I mean, what may be easier, but how? The what may be easier, but the how. I don't know, Mr. Cole, if you got the question properly. I think I sent it to you on chat.
Yeah, I saw the question, and yeah, the what may be easier, but the how, the how is very difficult. Definitely, no doubt about that. There are many issues that are involved here, and I'm transforming, a whole education system using digital technology and 21st century level skills for teachers and students. I mean, that could be responsive to the needs of the marketplace and emerging knowledge economies and societies. It's not going to be very easy. But as I said in my presentation, when I was speaking, I spoke about a fast, ICT, ecosystem that is developing so fast, whereas education remains very conservative. And I think that Dr. Mukubu also alluded to that. I mean, kind of, supported my position on that. I mean, education has to be, there should be a revolution in education. I mean, we have to revolutionize the system completely. I mean, using ICT, true and true. And certainly, we have to look at, for example, there are two approaches I want to look at here. One, the first approach is to have an overhaul of the whole school system, development using ICT, integrating new digital schools of decision frameworks, developing leadership and vision, integrating across the curriculum, ICT school culture, which needs to be implanted in the system, ICT professional development, infrastructure and resources. The other issue now is here, how is to ensure that there's a phased approach to teacher development for ICT, using new contextualized ICT competency frameworks for teachers to understand ICT integration in educational policy, in the curriculum, in pedagogy, and management, and organization and professional learning. So, I mean, if you want to talk about the how, maybe we should think along those lines now, bringing teachers through progression pathways from initial to technology.
Dr. Cole, sorry, I need to interrupt you because you're already over time.
Sure.
Then I may start with Dr. Mukaku for a final takeaway. Dr. Mukaku, sorry about that. You just need to give us 30 seconds on what you take away from the session today. In 30 seconds, please. Let's skip to the time. We don't have much time. If Dr. Mukaku is not there, we can ask Dr. Cole to give us in 30 seconds his takeaway. Alex, you may want to go next. In 30 seconds, what's your takeaway?
Thank you, Calvin. I think my takeaway here is that we are more than capable, and maybe I may want to call to action this panel. You have the government, private actors, almost everyone, funders. We have what it takes to start the revolution Mr. Cole is asking for. I may call to action this panel. So what do we do next? What are the next steps for us? So we've talked so much, and how can we start the conversation in terms of action?
Thank you so much, Alex. Melanie?
Thank you very much. Yes, my key takeaway from this great session is that indeed we need those kind of forum to foster collaborations, to be able to work with incubators, tech solutions, and governments. And also finally, I would say also a call to action for governments to be inclined to work more with entrepreneurs like us or like Alex to be able to maybe test different solutions and to try to provide this infrastructure for entrepreneurs to solve social and environmental solutions with them, with the technology in an environment that fosters financing and collaborations. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Melanie. Mr. Dogara?
So I don't have much to say, but the key takeaway here is we need to encourage collaboration between the government and the private entities in order to drive a better result to equip our young people with the skills needed to strive in today's digital world. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Dogara. So I'm going to go to Mr. Devon for this takeaway.
Collaboration, it's so necessary, and I'm going to start with everyone on this panel. I will be in contact with all of you in terms of how we can disseminate our information and ensure that we are making an impact, and that what we do learn, we teach, and that no matter what we do, that we don't stop until an impact is made. And if we need to shake trees, we shake trees, but we need to start moving with the earth. We need to move with the earth. You know, there's so much of the current system works against the earth. It's now for us to start working with the earth to find how we can use our resources in a sustainable way to take over. It's time to rise.
Thank you, Mr. Devon. Yes, I'll simply go to Ms. Mwende for final word. Key takeaway.
Okay, thank you. My takeaway is, as we started this panel, is that we are starting from kindergarten to policymakers who have all the gray hairs that we have on our heads. So how can we develop or build capacity from the very first person who goes to kindergarten at 4 years to grow into innovators, entrepreneurs, policymakers who understand and will take Africa to the next, as Devon has said, and all the panelists have said, we are the continent of not the next century, of the current century. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for this very, very insightful session. So we look forward to documenting all these recommendations and following up on it. I think ITU, Smart Africa, we're here to see how this can get through and get into what we try to all achieve and have a sort of African entrepreneurial ecosystem that is built to match our needs. With this, I'll simply come to an end the session today and thank every single participant here for their contribution over the chat, their support, and much more. Thank you, and see you in the next sessions. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.